a century-long conflict involving secretive agreements, broken trust, and the ambitions of a wealthy family. In 1917, the incredibly wealthy Rothschild family, known for pioneering modern banking, used their wealth and influence to make a secret pact with the British government. This pact ultimately played a significant role in establishing the nation of Israel. The story gets even weirder when you hear about the eccentric personality of the man behind the deal, Lord Walter Rothschild. He was a wealthy billionaire who imported zebras from Africa instead of horses to pull his carriage to show off his wealth. On top of that, he had a bizarre hobby of collecting bugs. He had over 1 million butterflies, moths, and other insects. The Jewish people are known for their intelligence and hard work. They had been working for many years to find a place to start their own country, Israel. They faced challenges in finding a suitable piece of land until they connected with a wealthy man named Walter Rothschild, who was able to help them in a big way. In the early 1900s, the Rothschilds were the most powerful family in Europe. They were incredibly wealthy and had even lent money to the entire country of France to help its economy. However, besides being powerful, the Rothschilds were known to be ruthless. They would use their power aggressively to defeat their enemies and anyone who stood in their way. If the Rothschilds wanted something, they made sure they got it no matter what. In 1917, Walter Rothschild used his influence to persuade the British government to promise to help create the country of Israel. This promise greatly impacted the world map, and we have a copy of the letter as proof. On November 2, 1917, a letter was sent to Lord Rothschild on behalf of the British government expressing support for the Jewish Zionist goals. The Balfour Declaration, starting with "Dear Lord Rothschild," is a well-known letter in modern Jewish history. Many believe it shows that the Rothschild family played a vital role in the creation of Israel. In an interview, the head of the Rothschild family proudly talks about how his ancestors were involved in creating Israel. The interview points out that the letter was sent to the head of the Rothschild family because of their money, power, and influence, which influenced the British government. After World War II, the British government granted a significant portion of land to the Rothschild family, leading to the establishment of the State of Israel in May 1948. Subsequently, the Rothschilds made substantial investments in Israel, including constructing schools, infrastructure, and critical governmental buildings such as the Congress and Supreme Court. However, this led to complications as the land had originally been inhabited by Palestinians, resulting in long-standing conflicts between Israelis and Palestinians. But let's shift our focus away from the war, and instead talk about the influence of the powerful Rothschild dynasty. What you may have heard about their influence doesn't even scratch the surface of their true power. There are numerous videos about the Rothschilds on YouTube, but this one is unique. Instead of just discussing them, we'll delve into centuries of history to uncover 5 instances when the Rothschild family used money, violence, and power to shape reality and leave their mark on the world. We'll start by exploring how the Rothschilds played a key role in creating the modern banking industry, and you'll be surprised to learn just how ruthless their methods were. Tortent. The Rothschilds' banking endeavors were not aimed at helping people, but rather at achieving power. This pursuit of power can be traced back to 1744 with Mayer Amschel Rothschild. From an early age, Mayer believed that money equates to power. Despite being born into a middle-income family residing in the ghettos of Frankfurt, Mayer devised a strategy to amass wealth. As a young man, he established a money-lending business with a modest sum and gradually expanded his financial resources. The Rothschilds didn't start banking to help people. They did it to gain power. This quest for power began in 1744 with Mayer Amschel Rothschild. From a young age, Mayer believed that money equals power. Despite being born into a middle-income family living in the ghettos of Frankfurt, Mayer had a plan to become wealthy. As a young man, he started a money-lending business with a small amount of money and slowly grew his wealth. Even though the act of lending money may seem straightforward, it can be complicated by the fact that borrowers may only sometimes return what they borrow. However, Mayer was resolute in his determination to ensure the return of the principal amount and the accrued interest. From a tender age, he cultivated a reputation for being intelligent and uncompromising. This reputation led him to become the personal banker to members of the German royal family. His modest money-lending enterprise transformed into a thriving financial institution through unwavering dedication and perseverance. Nonetheless, Mayer remained acutely aware that the passage of time posed a potential threat to all he had diligently built. As Mayer got older, he passed on his money skills to his 5 sons. Most importantly, he taught them that being successful wasn't just about managing money, but also about influencing people and situations to their advantage. Mayer knew handling money could be intense, and he wanted his sons to be more challenging than anyone else. After teaching them all he could, Mayer sent his 5 sons, Amschel, Solomon, Nathan, Karl, and Jacob, to different parts of Europe to take over the banking industry. He believed that if a Rothschild controlled money in other parts of Europe, then the Rothschilds would become the most powerful family in Europe because money is power, and the person who controls money holds all the power. The Rothschild brothers expanded their banking business to London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. They quickly formed the world's first international bank, using clever strategies they learned from their father. This approach laid the groundwork for how modern banks establish international branches. The Rothschilds also pioneered the concept of using government bonds to raise money for the government. Their growing wealth made them incredibly influential, surpassing some powerful governments. Decades later, when countries wanted to establish central banks, they sought the expertise of the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds were involved in setting up central banks in several countries, such as the Bank of England and the Bank of France. They played a significant role in these countries' financial systems. However, they also engaged in ruthless activities, profiting from tragic events and influencing global events. In the 1800s, Napoleon Bonaparte aimed to conquer the world. Despite initial skepticism, he proved to be a formidable military leader. As Napoleon gained power and the Rothschilds sought to maintain their influence, they took extreme actions. When the world was at war with Napoleon, the Rothschilds decided to help both sides. War costs a lot. The British needed money to pay their soldiers and buy weapons. The Rothschilds saw an opportunity to make much money by quickly lending money to the British government. Lending money to individuals was already profitable, but lending to a government was even more profitable. Even though the Rothschild loans had high interest rates, what they did next showed how clever they were. In the early 1800s, the wealthy Rothschild family strategically provided loans to Napoleon and the British during the Napoleonic Wars. This wise move allowed them to benefit regardless of the war's outcome potentially. If Napoleon emerged victorious, he would owe the Rothschilds a substantial sum. If the British prevailed, they too would be indebted to the family. However, despite the apparent advantage of this plan, it was not without significant drawbacks. Throughout a historic war, a wealthy family named the Rothschilds supported both sides financially, indirectly contributing to the war's prolonged devastation. Thousands of soldiers lost their lives on the battlefields each day, partly due to the funding provided by the Rothschilds. When Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo and the British coalition forces emerged victorious, they found themselves indebted to the Rothschilds. Instead of celebrating their victory, the Rothschilds had more plans in mind to further increase their wealth, which they successfully executed, vastly boosting their fortune in just 24 hours. The story goes that during the Battle of Waterloo, while everyone else saw it as a fight for world domination, the Rothschild family saw it as an opportunity to make money. They could use the information about the battle outcome to take advantage of the stock exchange and make a considerable profit. This is a famous example of how people with inside information can sometimes manipulate financial markets for their gain. The spy sent a message to Nathan using a pigeon, telling him that Britain had won. This was a big deal because the British currency would become more valuable. Still, no one else knew about the victory yet. Instead of using traditional methods, like a messenger on horseback to spread the news, Nathan decided to spread false information that Napoleon had won. This caused a lot of chaos in the stock market, leading to a drop in the value of the British currency. Then, Nathan took advantage of the situation by buying a lot of British currency when its value was meager. 24 hours after the battle, an official government messenger arrived with news of the British victory. However, by that time, it was already too late. The British triumph caused a significant surge in the value of the pound sterling. Unbeknownst to many, the Rothschilds had strategically invested heavily in the stock market, and as a result, they reaped immense wealth overnight. Reports indicate that the Rothschilds amassed an estimated equivalent of $6 billion from this single financial maneuver. This event marked a pivotal moment, setting the stage for the Rothschilds to influence global affairs, including shaping public perception and controlling the narrative. The Rothschilds, a wealthy family, realized that controlling information could be as powerful as managing money. As technology advanced, they invested in media companies, TV networks, Hollywood studios, and newspapers to control the flow of information. This new form of control gave them unprecedented power in the world. The Rothschilds' fifth strategic move follows a familiar pattern in their approach. In addition to their extensive involvement in media, the Rothschilds expanded their influence by making strategic investments across various industries. Through the formation of the Rothschild Group, they strategically allocated substantial financial resources to critical companies worldwide, spanning from the United States to Japan and Switzerland. By securing significant stakes in these enterprises, the Rothschilds consolidated their influence, positioning themselves to impact global economic dynamics substantially. This allowed them to wield considerable influence over pricing mechanisms and manipulate the balance of supply and demand for a wide range of products and services. It's hard to say precisely how much wealth the Rothschild family has because they keep it private. Some experts think they have assets worth at least $1 trillion, but it could be even more. The Rothschilds are incredibly rich, and their wealth is probably the largest in history. Their story is like something out of a movie. From having very little, they've become one of the wealthiest families in the world. It shows that when you have a lot of money, you have a lot of power, and with enough energy, you can do almost anything.